Hello, everybody out
What's
there in
up?
the wonderful land. We are super glad that you is first time or third time.
Third time, man.
Third time for us.
Yeah.
Glad you're with us. We are having an absolute blast doing this. Really hope that you all get some little tidbit in there or nothing else. It just makes us grin a little bit to see what two people can sit and talk about.
Yeah, we can talk about anything for a long time. We're just sitting around, and we hope people can take a little bit of information out of this and just have a good time. And that's what we're doing.
Because we're having a good time. If you all aren't, shame on you.
That's right.
There's no reason you shouldn't be.
Yeah, man. So welcome to Unranked and Unhinged.
Unranked and unhinged.
That's right.
I love it. And we've got like an intro and a logo now, and
We do.
some cool stuff. Gene is the hardest working man on all this. He does all the post production stuff. So like, when I point into the air, something happens. And I know that at some point there's going to be something that's going to show up. So
That's right. So make sure you don't point.
I'll try not to point because something really bad might happen.
I'll point for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we've done golf, and we always do beer. So
We always do beer.
now I think today we're going to talk about fishing. A little
man.
bit.
We're going to change the script a little bit, and I am going to turn it to you and ask you some questions tonight.
I love it.
You know, like you said, we have talked about golf for the first two episodes.
Yep.
Very informative.
Yep.
You know, with the APT. But I think, we want to talk about fishing this time.
We do.
So I think if you're new to fishing and feel overwhelmed, this podcast could be for you, or this episode could be for you.
It could. It could just open your eyes to something spectacular.
I'll say, I grew up fishing creeks and riverbank fishing.
Oh, yeah.
Didn't really get into much lake fishing till probably, 4 or 5 years ago. But I'm going to let you explain some of that here in a little bit.
Cool.
What you like and dislike about lake fishing or
Lake fishing, creek fishing. I don't care. I'd fish in a puddle. Actually, and I've fished in drainage ditches a lot. Sometimes like we'll be somewhere over on the coast, or it's not so much around here. Now I will, if I have time, I'll find just, any little body of water. And you'd be surprised. My wife we usually run around together and do things. And so, hi, sweetie. She'll go in a store, and I always keep a little collapsible pole in the car.
Yeah, man.
I mean, and so if she's in there doing something and taking along, and I see a drainage, a big drainage pond out behind one of these, I'll go fish that sucker.
How do you think people would feel if I took a golf club with me everywhere I go, and if topaz was taking too long?
Yeah,
I can just go out there and
just start chipping around.
Yeah,
just work your way all around.
Yeah.
I love it. I don't see why they would say anything bad. Now I have been told, "Hey, you can't fish there," but and it amazes me sometimes where you find fish.
Yeah.
In places that you really just don't think they would be. And truthfully, I don't know how they get there. It's got to be, they say birds, and we'll take little tiny fish that I don't know. Somehow fish get there. Fish find a way.
Yeah, they get there, man.
Go ahead, Gene. Ask me a question.
You asked me on our first episode how I got started.
Yep.
And into golf. So I want to ask you, what got you into fishing, and maybe why? And why did it stick?
Okay. I'm going to say the exact same thing you did, Dad.
Right. Yeah.
My dad was a big fisherman, and he fished a lot. It seemed like we always had a boat. It didn't have to be a big boat. And a lot of times, even though we had a boat, we would still fish rivers and creeks. And when I grew up in a little town called Mendota, and we had a creek that ran beside the house that ran down 300 yards behind the house and teed into a bigger creek. And then in about an eighth of a mile, that ran into the North Fork of the Holston.
Okay.
So I was surrounded by water.
All right.
But growing up, it was my dad. He was the one that first got me fishing and showed me how to tie on a hook, and the worms weren't that bad. And yes, no, the worm can't feel it when you impale him. No, Bart, everything's fine. That little worm loves doing what he's doing. Anyway, but yeah, I fished every chance I got growing up, because the good thing was I was surrounded by water.
Right.
And so you talked about creeks and banks. Yeah, creek fishing was, you're growing up just waddling around, dig up what you can find as far as bait, and just have at it. But yeah, my dad was the catalyst for me to fish, and he kept me that way through, pretty much forever.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, man. I think, we both, have great dads and parents, and, they taught us something that we can take for a lifetime. And,
oh, yeah.
Whether it's fishing or,
fishing, golf, hunting. Dad tried to get me hunting. We'll do a hunting story sometime.
So that was, we did fishing growing up, but mine was more hunting and golfing. And it sounds like you were kind of fishing and
I was
golf,
fishing.
maybe.
Yeah. Dad never played golf.
Okay.
Up until I got him kind of interested in it later on, but Dad had physical limitations that kept him from really doing a lot of stuff.
Right.
Fishing was very easy for him.
Yeah.
So, that was what pretty much we ended up at was, if we wanted to do something, we would go fishing.
Yeah.
And it was really neat, because Dad always was very patient with me, and, showed me what to do, and never got bent out of shape if I did something wrong, which I did a lot. I can remember we were fishing from the bank one time, and I was sitting there on my little lounge chair, and pole was right between my feet on a little stick, and I was looking over and talking to Dad, and all of a sudden I see out of the corner of my eye, bloop, gone. I mean, gone. It was like that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Was it a citation?
I don't know what it was. I think it was a bus. As quick as it grabbed and took off, I think it had to be, like a bus.
It's funny how, fish will aggressively fight, and it feels like, it's the biggest one you got, and, and it doesn't matter, you're catching them, but they just seem bigger in the water.
Yeah. I love it.
Yeah, that was, so that's good, man. I did, like I said earlier, I did a little fishing growing up as a kid, and I'll ask you about lake fishing and what your thoughts on that. But
okay.
I got into lake fishing a few years ago, and you guys always try to get me to go fishing.
Oh yeah.
And I never would. It was, I was always playing golf, but the one thing that kind of hit me, I can't golf 7 days a week.
Yeah.
I mean, I could. Now, it can get expensive, but, I kind of looked at it as another hobby.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a hobby that I can do as I get older,
That is true. And I will have to say this. I mean, as far as hobbies go, the stress level in fishing is nowhere near the stress level in golf. And
you're a patient fisherman,
I'm
right?
a very patient fisherman. Now, and I've told you this before. Most golf courses you go to have water, some type of water hazard.
Yeah.
And the one that we played a whole lot had an entire lake, and we played, it was around a lake. So I've never been sitting fishing anywhere and thought, wow, I wish I was playing golf right now. But I have been playing golf and thought, holy crap, I wish I was fishing right now. Because, I don't know, it kind of relaxes you. And our buddy Kelly was a hardcore fisherman, bass fisherman, man, and he was just tenacious.
Yeah.
And we fished this one pond, and so we were on the bank, and I was just sitting there with I was throwing a jitterbug, which is a little topwater,
Oh, I love
thing.
top water.
I know.
I don't know much about it, but, about much lures, but I love top water.
Oh, it's so fun. So I threw it out there, and just as I started to reel it back, I got some thought in my head, or maybe all the thoughts went away in my head, and I sat down with that pole. And my buddy Kelly, I could see him coming from around the side, and he fished his way on down and fished his way on down and he kept looking at me. And he'd fish a little bit, and he'd look. Finally, he walked up to me and said, "What's wrong?" I said, "Nothing's wrong." "What do you mean?" He's like, "Why aren't you fishing?" I said, "I am fishing." He looks out there, that little poor jitterbug just sitting there doing nothing. Been there for half an hour, just floating. And he said, "No, you're not." I said, "Yes, I am, Kelly." I said, "I'm fishing." I said, there's a big difference between fishing and catching fish. And I'm happy doing either one of them. And right now, I'm very happy sitting on this rock fishing. And I think that's the biggest difference in golf. You know, if halfway through a hole you just sat down in the fairway, I took very seriously that they would ask you back.
They may want me to leave.
They may want you to leave. Yeah. You know, I'm just, you're not golfing. Yes, I am.
Yeah, you know, our buddy Kelly, you know, I went lake fishing with him, and is a very competitive guy.
Oh gosh, yeah.
You know, and it sounds like you prefer bank fishing over.
There is no preference, Gene, and that's the thing. I've fished banks, piers, creeks, just standing in rocks. You know, sitting in the most comfortable seat in the boat, just fishing, and it's to me, it's all fishing, and I really do not have a preference.
Yeah.
And that's the weird thing. Even not catching fish, I'm still fishing, and I still enjoy it.
Right.
It's a process. You know, sometimes, you know, especially if you're working a lure and you just have a slow cadence coming back, it almost puts you in like a Zen state. If it really can. I mean, you just kind of forget about everything but the next cast, and you know, if you don't, next cast. So yeah, I love fishing. I like golf.
Yeah.
Truly, never been fishing and wishing I was playing golf.
Yeah,
I need a T-shirt that says
and I've
that.
heard you say that before.
Yeah, that's
I tell you,
my
man.
thing.
I tell you that, you know, the one thing I remember fishing with Kelly on the lake, you know, he'd always run the trolling motor.
Oh yeah,
on the front. And that way he can kind of get into the little coves where he wants to go, and I'm always stuck in the back.
Oh yeah,
and I'm sure he does that on purpose. Love you, Kelly.
Yeah, of course, because that means he gets first crack. He gets everything.
First ones.
Yeah.
So I'm fishing the back where the motor is, and you know, and there's a wake, and so I'm kind of just hoping one slips off his hook and comes to mine.
Yeah, he woke one of them up.
Yeah.
What the hell was that?
You know,
hey, here comes another one.
Oh, look,
I'll take this one.
That one's shiny.
That one's shiny.
You know, as time went on, I would start later on, you know, in Kelly's health, and I started running the trolling motor for him, and just let him have a good time and just fish. And I was like, "Yeah, sucker, I'm getting in these coves now."
First crack. Well, you know, and that's the thing. Another thing, Kelly was a bass fisherman.
Yeah.
I mean, it was, you know, he was strictly a bass fisherman. Sometimes he would slum it and catch some crappie or something, but bass was his thing. And growing up, that was never our fishing. You know, when Dad would take me fishing, it was always, we'd park the boat and fish.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't like a continuous movement. We didn't even have a trolling motor on the boat.
Right.
You know, we would just go anchor down and fish, especially in the lake. And, you know, I remember doing nighttime fishing, and we either had a float boat or borrowed a float boat. 9 times out of 10, Dad had a boat, and it was something that was comfortable for him. But we would go out the lake, anchor down in deep ass water, and catch lake trout. And 9 times out of 10, you know, heck, I'm 8 years old.
Yeah.
I'm loving it, but I'm in one of those old plastic, stretchy, long chairs that kind of folds in the middle like this, you know, and both ends open
that'll
up.
pinch you.
And pinches you. And, you know, I'm there. I'm in this that, cuddled up in like some little sleeping bag with something. So my fishing lasts about half an hour. Dad's out there all night. So Dad had worked some third shift a lot in his life, so it was nothing for him to stay up all night.
Oh, wow.
Just flat out all up all night and I'm like cuddling down and, I'm 30 minutes in and, but I loved that.
Yeah.
Maybe that's where the just relaxing and fishing came from.
I do like the night fishing, but I'll tell you what scares me though, is I understand all these boats have lights.
Yeah.
You're supposed to have lights.
Yeah.
You go through this course to learn about the lights, what they do.
Yeah.
Poor Kelly though, man. It seemed like it was 55 miles per hour at night.
Oh yeah, 55 at night.
I'm like, he's like,
and a lot of times if you looked at him, he wasn't driving like this.
Yeah.
He was driving like this, and that's
right.
because you could still see the tree line in the skies,
Sure.
and he knew where he was going, so he knew there wasn't be an obstacle in a certain place. But it was much easier to kind of align your boat with
that makes sense
with the sky.
That's a good point. I'm glad you brought that up. I never really kind of thought about that, and you guys are great fishermen, and I'm just kind of getting started and learning. The things that I know is a topwater and a worm and fly to minnow. So my question will be the time of year. I know there's certain times of the year. What bait or lure is good all year round, or how would you handle?
Okay, so if you can make fishing very, very complicated if you want to.
Right.
I mean, nothing against fly fishermen that are fish for trout, but that's a next level kind of fishing.
That seems to be, yeah.
I mean, those guys are not only, they're entomologists. They know when everything is going to hatch and when's, what bugs doing what. And they've got 10 different versions of it in their little thing. And they've got some, cat hair tied up bug looking thing that mimics some other insect. So that's like high end. That's not me.
Right.
If I was, okay, so let's do this. Let's talk about, I'm going to pick 6 lures.
Okay.
6 lures that to me do everything.
Yeah.
And so, and I'm going to borrow my list here. Sorry, we're cheating a little bit. I got to make sure I'm lined up. Okay, so the first one is the one thing that I have probably caught more fish on in my entire life than anything else, and it's a little plastic paddle tail. And we'll cut to
we can put
thing
a
up here with the.
We can put a picture of
yeah.
what you're talking about, and that way people will see it on the next episode.
Old timers would call them Mr. Twisters, and they're just like little teeny plastic grubs with a curly tail. Now, there's different versions of tails that do different things. The bodies of these things, some of them will be ridged, some of them will not. But a white, plain little old do-nothing plastic paddle bait. You can fish it anywhere.
So for the people out there, give us just a brief description of a paddle bait.
Okay, we'll do a picture. And what it is it takes you can do it without thinking. Cast, reel it back in slow. You control the depth based on the little jig head you use or where your rod tip is. A lot of people don't realize that, if you have a high rod tip, your bait's going to want to rise. If you've got a low tip, and I even was surprised one time. I was at a little seminar, and they were fishing in this big tank, and I noticed that Skeet Reese was the guy who did it. He started his retrieve back, and the end of his pole was like 1.5 feet in the water. And I was like, and asked the question, and he was like, "Don't be afraid." He said, "If you think about it, you're standing in a boat, and so the fact that you put your rod tip in the water to control depth is not a big thing, especially since your lure is way out there." So paddle tails are super easy because they just retrieve back. Nothing fancy about it. some people like to stop and let them sink, but it's just a speed thing, and it's a good lure to learn your speed and your patience.
Yeah.
So probably the next one, and we'll up here is spoons. I remember growing up and little hula dancers, and there was one called a little Cleo, a little bitty thing about this big, silver spoon. It's just like if you taken a flat piece of metal and just banged it real hard, and put a hook on the end of it, and put a line on the other end, and it kind of does this through the water. So if it's daylight, you're getting a lot of reflection off of that thing. But the little Cleo had a little hula dancer on it, and she was naked, had her boobies out. Oh. And I thought that was the greatest thing in the world as a little kid. Like, oh, look at this. I want to fish with this. Wonder what I'm going to catch.
I bet they sold a lot of those.
They did. They sold a lot. And I'll see if I can find one of those. And I'll put it up here. But, yeah, spoons are great. I love weedless spoons. You know, you've fished before with Kelly, and he will put you in a cove that is just, you know, it looks like the entire hurricane, whoever, had blown all of the limbs and everything in here, and he's just whoosh,
he's just checking that thing in there, man.
But the great thing is, if you've got a weedless spoon, you can just throw it in there. It won't get hooked on anything, and you can just jig it up and down, which is just dun, 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 dun. And you'd be surprised that just that movement sometimes will get a
That's
bite.
how he showed me the wormfish. You know, use that weedless technique.
It does wonders because, you know, you can get it. And I remember fishing with somebody that said one time, you know, was casting in this awful spot, and I was like, well, I probably shouldn't be fishing there. And he said, no. You said, you fish anywhere you want. Said, you go as deep as you want in there. He said, you catch it, we'll then worry about how we're going to get it out. Yeah. And we've done that before. We've caught fish that have been in some nasty stuff. And, you know, it took, 10 minutes of finagling around to get them under and over and around and finally get them out. So, you know, that's the great thing about the spoons, and you kind of can cover a lot of ground. You know, you can splay cast, just you can cover a lot of ground really fast with those because they take a consistent reeling to get them back in. So let's see. The next thing is, oh, sorry, I keep forgetting I'm talking outside this thing. All right, so the third one I want to talk about is live critters. And this is going to catch a lot of flack because, you know, some people are like, well, you're fishing with live bait. And I don't know how many times that I've been fishing and not being able to catch anything. Yeah. And then end up on the bank kicking rocks. Yeah. And one of the biggest smallmouth that I ever caught, sucker was huge in my book. I mean, I'm sure people have caught much bigger ones, but
Fish story, yeah.
I was having no luck on anything, and I was bank fishing in the North Fork, and so I started kicking rocks, and found a grampus, which is the ugliest looking thing. It looks like something off of Starship Troopers that's going to eat your head and then suck your brain dry and then know all your thoughts. Black, big pinchers on the front of it, mean looking thing. Smallmouth love them, and I just happened to find one, hooked it, threw out, floating it under about 1.5 feet under a float, just letting it float with the current, and got hit with a monster smallmouth. Just the first cast, first time I threw that little thing out there. So don't discount critters. I know people don't like it, but you can fish with worms and crickets and grampus and anything that you can find, anything that's crawling around. Fish will eat it. Spiders. If you got time, hook up a spider. But there again, that's the kind of fishing that I talked about, where you throw it out there and you stop.
Just sit there,
You just sit there. I mean, it does the work, especially if you're fishing with a float. And I love floats. And I've got something in here I want to talk about floats too. But, you relax. And you watch the float. It's doing the work. It's holding the thing. It's going to be the one that tells you when you get a bite. But you're just there. You're just along for the ride. And so yeah, I love fishing live bait, and I love fishing them under a float.
Well, the only thing that have done, like I said earlier, was a worm, top water, and fly on a minnow. And the only thing that I learned was the fly on a minnow and top water was in cool weather, when maybe the lake is down and it's I don't know, 40s.
Yeah.
But the worm fishing was in the spring and summer. Is that a kind of a good?
Believe it or not, you can worm fish year round.
Okay.
And that's one of the other things that I wanted to talk about was Gene brought it up, the worm, and a green pumpkin finesse worm has probably caught more bass than anything out there. I'd say that and if it hasn't, it's ranking pretty high.
Yeah.
But that is it's a hard bait to work just because of one thing, the word finesse. And that's what you do with it. You finesse it back to the boat, and that takes patience. And a lot of times, like Kelly, he's in a hurry.
Yeah.
But boy, he was a fantastic finesse fisherman.
Well, he showed me that a little bit.
Yeah.
And it took me a long time, and I'll tell everybody, it took me a long time to get that feel.
Yeah.
Is this a
limb? Is it a fish or a limb?
Yeah, is this a fish or a limb?
Because with the finesse baits, like Gene said, you throw it out there, and what you're doing is you're just basically pulling it across and bringing it back to the boat. And you've got to, and when you get it across something, you slackline and let it set.
Right.
And that's the hardest part about finesse fishermen. And, there's all kinds, the new rage is the Ned rig.
Yeah.
And it's just a little, and this is the craziest thing. One of the top brands that you can buy that does what it's supposed to do is Z-Man. And I don't know, we can put a big plug for Z-Man somewhere. Maybe they'll send us money or something. I don't know. But the cool thing about the Z-Man elastics is they float. They've got a buoyancy to them. So when this thing sits and it hits the bottom, it stands up.
Yeah.
And it's not about the size of your finger. And some brave man at Z-Man called these things turds. And it's the Z-Man TRD. And it looks kind of like a little cat turd maybe. Yeah. But great fishing. And they're called Ned rigs. And they finesse them. They let them hit the bottom, twitch, and they say that, let it set. Yeah. And then when you think it's ready to go, let it set some more.
Yeah.
And then bring it back.
Well, I'll tell you the one thing that, when I was doing the worm fishing with Kelly, not knowing if it was a limb or if it was a fish, he always said, he said, it doesn't cost anything,
Yeah, it doesn't cost anything to set the hook. And that's the thing about worm fishermen. Usually don't do the worms with a circle hook. I love circle hooks. Circle hooks have changed a lot of the way fishing happens because you don't set the hook with a circle hook. And these fishermen out there know this. And, you basically just lift. And the hook works its way to the corner of the mouth. And, and they say, I don't know if it's true or not, I wouldn't want to be the fish to try it, but the finesse worm, and there's a lot of things that happen there. You've got the Cincos, which are just like big turds, and then you got the Ned rig stuff. You've got plastics that float, plastics that stink, plastics that are infused with some kind of thing. You could be overwhelmed. Yeah. And the one thing I would say that if you do want to try worm fishing, finesse worm fishing, just get you a green 6-inch, 8-inch green pumpkin finesse worm. Put it on a little weighted head, and just play with it. And get out there with a light kind of line. And Gene talked about this, and just throw it in some junk. Yeah. And feel how it feels to come across a limb, and it comes in and it sits, and you think, okay, there's something there. That's something. And when you pull it a little bit, it comes across and drops. Yeah. And that's when you want to stop. It's amazing how many times that, when it drops, you get a hit. Yeah. Because, I don't know, fish just are triggered.
I'll say, don't worry about it getting hung up. and I'll put it in like a golf ball perspective. You know, if I have a Pro V1 that costs me $3 and I lose it, well, that's one ball. If I have a box of hooks that costs me $3, which has what, 15 maybe, 20?
Or more.
So don't be afraid. You know, like Bart was saying, try it out.
Yeah,
throw it in there. You know, if it breaks, if you need to break the line,
break a line.
That doesn't matter.
And that's that's one of the cool things about fishing is it's very inexpensive to pull it off.
Yeah. So that brings me up a good point. If someone watching, you know, say, hey, you know what, that sounds like a lot of fun. I like to get into fishing. So tell them kind of like maybe the equipment they would need to kind of get started and maybe how much it would cost.
Gotcha. Well, I'm gonna answer that question with a story, and that was a couple of years ago. It was on, I think it was Father's Day, maybe Father's Day. My son and I went and picked him up, and I said, for my Father's Day, I said, we're going to go fishing. And I said, but here's the rule. We each have $25, and we have to go to Walmart with $25 and buy everything that we need to do this fishing trip. And I said, you know, whoever catches, you know, the first fish gets a point, and then size after that.
That's fine.
Until in the end, you know, whoever wins. Well, the cool thing was we also had to have clothes.
Really?
Yeah, I included clothing in that.
Holy man!
So you know, both of us ended up with the same type of spinning reel, just a little spinning reel. I think the reel, which had line on it, and the pole, I think was like, I want to say $9 for the whole thing. Now, yeah, these aren't fantastic poles. I still got them.
Yeah. I've
still fished with them. I've handed them to, you know, little cousins and stuff that are just trying and you know, trying to learn how to use a spinning reel, which I suggest anybody, if you're going to fish, kind of bypass the whole. I need this thing on. Sorry. Boy, listen to how good I sound now.
Can you hear me?
Wow. That's awesome. Yeah, learn with a spinning reel.
Yeah.
You know, don't try these little spin cast things, you know, little zip codes. You're going to outgrow them instantly, and then you're going to want to go into something else. And the spinning reel is super easy. It has, you know, a lot of features that make it easy to fish with.
Right. And
so, yeah, I would say that. And then we talked about the lures. I think I got through 3 of them, didn't I?
I think so.
Let me just throw these other last 3 out there. Rooster tails. And, you know, I don't know if you fished with a rooster tail or not, but rooster tails, MEPs, beetle spins, all these little things, you know, you can, all you got to do is Google it. But we'll put a picture.
Yeah.
But they're another bait that you don't have to think about.
Yeah.
Throw it out, reel it back in.
I think I remember growing up, I think Dad had a lot of
everybody's got a rooster tail.
Yeah.
You got to. You know, if you open the box, you're going to find a rooster
right.
tail. And I've got one honorable mention down here that I want to talk about, and that is, and I'll talk about it last. But so rooster tails are always good. Floating to fly. Kelly Miller was an absolute. That's the only time he slowed down.
Oh, I love floating to fly.
The only time he slowed down, but even that he tried to make difficult.
Yeah. Because
he would want to fish. Fly and a floating to fly is just a little fly tipped with a minnow or any kind of little like power bait kind of minnow impersonator.
Yeah.
Anything like that. But Kelly wanted to fish it at about 12 feet. And so you got to float and 12 feet of line, and you got a 7-foot pole or 6.5. And it's like, really? God. You know, because you had to kind of let it trail behind the boat.
You're in the back, right?
Yeah, I'm in the back, and you let it trail behind the kind of boat, and so you're almost doing like a fly casting thing. And I'll never forget, you know, Kelly's, of course, he's freaking good at it, and he's like, you know, and it goes out, you know, 30, 40 feet, which isn't a huge cast. You can't really throw them that far. And, you know, I'm fishing 2 feet off the boat because that's as far as mine went. It was whirly-gigging like I was trying to bolo the fish. Going like this. And so, yeah, it lands, and then my float's like 4 feet from the boat. And I'm like, ah. But floating a fly.
I love floating a fly, man.
It's so easy.
With those minnows.
Yeah. Like I said, unless you make it difficult.
Well, you know, that's the first, when he finally convinced me to go with him. That's what we did.
The way we tried to convince Gene to go fishing is kind of the way that you would want to put a dog in a dryer, and you know, you just lay treats and you just lure him closer. And you know, except we used beer, a couple of beer can, you know, worked his way toward the boat till finally he was on the boat.
I was there.
Yeah, and he's, you know, he's like that. Oh, beer.
Where's the beer?
And we
man?
push the boat away from this. You know,
Where's the beer?
Yeah.
Do you have
and
the
then
beer?
and then he can't get away.
Yeah.
So yeah, floating a fly is great. You know, it's so easy. A fly, good Lord, people have caught so many fish on a fly, and it doesn't have to be anything special. Just a little bucktail, and
that's it, man.
And you can fish that like crazy. We talked about the finesse stuff. Sorry, I'm licking. Yeah, honorable mention. I want to say a little bit about this, and I doubt very seriously that you could go to 100 tackle boxes and not find 90 of these lures. And it's just the little original Rapala. It's black and silver, black on the top, silver on the bottom. And you cast it out and you reel it back in. And depending on how fast you come back in, it controls depth. All of these things that I mentioned make you a better fisherman. You know, they're not flashy and they're not spectacular, but, you know, you learn the difference in being fishing slow or fishing fast, or fishing deep or fishing shallow. You know, those are great things to help you get to there. Right. And, you know, the cost, Gene talked about the cost, and you could outfit your tackle box with these things for, you know, less than $10.
Yeah. And
the one thing I will say is reels are great. Spinning reels are fantastic. You can spend $1,000 on a reel. Yeah. Or more. But the rod's very important. And when you're fighting a fish, a rod's going to do a lot of work. It's going to do the majority of the work. The drag itself on your reel does some work. But the bend of the rod is kind of your soft connection between you and the fish.
Yeah.
And so I would much rather spend money on a rod and spend less money on a reel than the other way around.
That makes sense.
So,
you know, Kelly showed me one time, you know, when we would go, it was only kind of certain type of fishing we were doing. It was either, you know, top water, flying a minnow or a worm. And he kind of showed me this trick, turn your pole upside down and you can kind of check the bend. Have you seen him do that?
Yeah, and you can, believe it or not, that the rods have about 3 different properties.
Yeah.
You know, one of them is how stiff it is, and the other one is the weight. And what that is when if you hold a rod up horizontal and you put a certain amount of weight at the tip of it, you're going to get you're going to get a bow. Yeah. And the backbone, you'll hear people talk about the backbone of a rod, and that's where it starts bending.
Oh, okay.
So, you know, if you've got a really fast action rod, it's going to bend way out at the end.
Yeah.
So you're going to get this straight, good, strong, heavy rod, and then a little bend at the tip. If you use an ultralight or something like that, you'll get your bend will start almost immediately, and you'll get this big, smooth parabolic arc. And that's because it's a shock absorber. Yeah. So yeah, rods are awesome.
So what do you think about what is the advantage of a 2-piece or just a solid rod? Is it just for storage?
Transport?
Yeah.
It is strictly for transport. It is. I love single piece rods, but unless you've got a good place to store them, they're hard to travel with. You know, if you've got a boat and you keep your rods on a boat, one piece rod's perfect. If you fish it off the banks and stuff, it's hard to put a 7-foot rod in a Yugo.
Right. Yeah.
So, that's the biggest thing about it. And you know, I've got travel rods that are 5-piece.
Okay.
And and I've never broken one. It's worked. Is it fantastic? No, but we're fishing. We don't care.
Right.
As long as we're fishing.
Yeah. So do you prefer bank fishing or lake fishing? You know, with all this, you know.
This is what I will say to that. And I love fishing from a boat.
Mm-hmm.
But the spontaneity of being able to just look over at a body of water when you're driving somewhere and go, I saw a fish jump. And I do this a lot. I keep my fishing stuff with me, and it's so nice just to pull over, and as long as it's not private property or something like that, or you know. But and then you're there. You're at the bank. There's no prep.
Yeah.
You didn't have to load a cooler.
That's
you
true.
didn't have to back up a boat at a
Take
ramp.
snacks.
Take snacks. You didn't have to do any of that. It's super spontaneous. And so the answer, I guess, was I like the idea of fishing from the bank. Just because you can do it anywhere, and it doesn't matter if it's a little bitty creek. Growing up, we used to fish these things called horny heads.
Right.
And they were just little fish that had knots all over their heads. And they were in creeks that weren't as wide as this table.
Yeah. So it sounds like when you're driving by, you know, you say, oh, there's a creek, or oh, there's a pond.
Yeah.
I do the same thing with golf courses. I was like, hey, golf course.
Golf course. Well, that's why nobody will take me on the creeper trail. You know, rent a bicycle and come on it. You know, I have relatives that are just hardcore bikers, and you know they get there and they try to go up and back as fast as they can, and it takes me 6 hours to go a mile because I'm like, ooh, a fish jumped. I'm like a dog and a squirrel.
You know, you enjoy fishing, and I know I do too. Maybe you enjoy it a little more than I do, because I feel like if I'm on a golf course and I see someone fishing, I kind of frown upon that. You know,
see, I look at them and go, I want to be them so bad. Yeah.
I mean, if we could put a little course on the lake, you know, and
well, they make them around the lakes.
No, I want to be in the lake where everybody's fishing.
So let me just ask, so like if there was somebody fishing and on the golf course and you come up there, the first thing you do is get angry. I know this. It's kind of like, what are you doing down there? You're not supposed to be fishing down there. And so then what do? You try to hit them.
Yes.
I guarantee it. Yep. Here comes the balls. But truly, and I kind of agree with you on this. Of all the places to go, why would you go somewhere like that? I mean, it's so easy to move just a little bit out of the way. But yeah, we've seen that at Clear Creek.
Well, I understand that, you know, and I don't necessarily get angry. It's if it's in a pond that's, you know, next to the fairway, next to the green, like, listen, guys, you know,
it's a dangerous spot.
Let's move on. But you know, there was a pond at Glen Roque, you know, at the behind the green. Yeah. You know, it's close, but that's okay. If you can go on the other side, go on the sides, that's fine by me. I'm all right, but just don't, if it's on the course, you know, I don't think
but especially like if it's behind the green, you've witnessed somebody like kill a TV, so it could have actually been a person.
As long as we're not playing with Max, you know, he might skull
a pitching wedge and, you know, give somebody a cranial something or other.
Man, I want
big word right there. I know there's probably a word for getting hit in the head with a golf. Probably a term we don't know about. Probably.
Listen, man, I think it's what we had tonight was awesome. I think you explained to some of the people want to get into fishing.
Oh yeah.
You know.
I jumped around a lot.
Well, I think it's just kind of an intro. You know, this is kind of a part one.
Oh gosh, yeah, we'll talk about fishing again.
A few more. I think I'll say this: if if you guys are listening and you're like, I really don't know what to buy, if you want to send us an email, Bart will.
I'll put you together something by budget, $25, $50,
exactly,
whatever. That'd be fun.
I think he would enjoy that. But I think we talked about some fishing rods, some lures, and it's
believe it or not, a couple of things I would like to at some point build a rod while we're doing the podcast, because I actually make rods. And they're not super hard, and you can buy the little kits, and so I may try to do that. I don't know if I can get it finished, but I may try to set while we're doing our talk and do a bunch of editing.
That's all right. Hey,
so, anything else you want to talk about fishing?
I think that's the introduction a little bit to kind of get the unhinged part of our podcast.
I definitely unhinge a lot.
I think very, very informative. I love the idea of going into pretty much just kind of hit the highlights of each, the rods and the reels and some lures. How you want to get started and the difference, riverbank and some and lake fishing. But our next one we'll maybe dive a little deeper.
The one thing I will say is, if you're starting fishing, don't make it difficult.
Yeah,
keep it simple. But learn. And learn when you're fishing. And you can actually, the good thing is you can do the same thing that you do in golf, and you can practice at home. Take your rod and just tie on a weight to the end of it, just a little sinker, and set you a clothes basket out, I don't know, 50, 60 feet, and just practice, casting into that thing. And there's different ways to cast. Google is a great resource, guys. Come on. I mean, we have the internet, we have AI, we have all this stuff. Use your resources. Google it, how to cast, how to do this, and don't just get stuck on the first one. Find a couple, do a little practice, and you'll get to where you really understand what you're doing with the rod, because there's nothing worse than going out there and worrying about how you're casting.
Right.
And making it difficult, especially if you're in a boat, you're bass fishing, and, one guy keeps throwing his, I don't know, maybe he's hunting, maybe he's fishing for squirrels. Most of his casts end up in the trees, and, it gets a little, I don't know the word exactly. It gets under your skin just a little bit. You try not to, but it does. If you're going to fish, keep it simple. Learn what you're doing, especially like with the finesse stuff. It's really fun once you get used to it, and just go out there and do it.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
So that was awesome. I think everybody will appreciate all the advice and the information that you gave.
I hope so. Oh, you're going to kill me, Gene. I got one more thing I forgot to tell. Way back. I want to do one thing. I talked about doing another one. The other one I want to do is finding fishing spots. Yeah. And I use Google Earth. And I will love it's so fun. If you can't fish and it's raining and you can't golf or you can't do anything, I fish for spots.
Yeah, I'm excited about that one, man.
It's pretty cool.
You tell me a little bit about it. Yeah, I'm super excited about that.
So we'll do one of those, but we've got to figure out how to incorporate the laptop.
Hey, we're still learning.
Hey, man, I come in here, I sit down, I talk, I act stupid, and then I leave. Gene does all the work, because he's got to go back through this. For every hour and 1 minute and 8 seconds that we do this, he probably has to put 4 or 5 hours just looking at the thing and going. So proud of you, Gene, and I appreciate you doing that.
No problem, man. So I want to say, we're doing something. We kind of started with our first episode about we're going to get into our beer review now.
Yeah.
So we started a little something with the last podcast, and I put a question, a little poll on there for people to interact with. And, and the question was, what beer do you want us to review next?
Cool.
So, and answer one was a sour / Goza.
My favorite.
And then the other one was the ale, a Pilsner, and IPA. So yeah. So we are going to announce, which one had the more votes, and that's what we're going to do. that's what we're going to reveal. Or we've got we're going to see who won, so we can do this review. And right now,
and believe it or not, guys, I know you don't believe this, but we actually had viewers.
Yeah.
I'm amazed. I'm absolutely amazed. I can't believe Mom watched it so many times.
Yeah, I know. Our family is loving it.
I know.
So tonight's winner for the beer review is a sour.
Yep,
so we will review a sour beer tonight.
Nice.
I think.
Is this when we do the ding-a-ling last call and their logo comes up?
Yep.
Crack a cold one and tee it high. Lines in the water and the sun in the sky. Missed the green, lost the lure. Bad ideas, yeah, we got more. Golf carts bumping, fish are jumping. Beers are cold and the stories are coming. Brains on pause, spirits up. Living life looking for the bottom of a cup.
All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed our little jingle we just had.
Yeah. We're gonna try out new people. That's the first one. So
comment.
Comment.
Send us something and say, hey, I like it. Hey, I don't like it. We'll give you a couple different options, but I want to start with this is a hot honey mango.
That's what I used.
Sour ale.
That just sounds like so much goodness to me.
So I've heard this thing has the sweet honey, and it
like a mead.
It kind of finishes with a little spice on the back end, but they say it's not very overpowering. And I'm super excited to try this.
Awesome.
You ready for this?
I'm ready for this.
All right, man. Here we go. Unranked.
Unhinged.
Yeah, here we go. All right. Cool, man. So look
magic
at that.
of editing.
Editing. Look at, man. It's a great color.
Can you smell it? Here. How'd you think of that? It smelled good.
Dude, I can smell that mango.
Yeah,
that is fantastic.
And it's very cloudy. A lot of people don't like, the cloudiness.
See what happens, man. So cheers.
Cheers, buddy.
Yep. I can taste that heat.
Yes, it's spicy. Now, where's the can? Can we look at the can? Can I look at your can, Gene? All right, so let's go through this again. Hot honey mango sour. So the hot hits right first, doesn't it?
It does hit first.
And then it kind of just dissipates. So I wonder if it's like a cayenne. Something. I wish I knew.
It's really good. I like this. I could drink this. So guys, we appreciate everybody out there giving any comments, any feedback, the followers. We had some new followers this week.
Yay.
We're going to do this again. We're going to do the beer review will be on there every week on our podcast.
Yep.
So, we may change up, if a sour goes to IPA, we may change that up a little bit, but that question will always be on there.
Awesome.
And we may do some other things that we come up, that we feel like, hey, we want you guys involved, interact with us.
All right. So this says that it's 6% alcohol, sour ale with mango puree, clover honey, and natural flavors. I wish they actually, and it's brewed, packaged, and by Untitled Art LLC in Waunakee, Wisconsin. So, I give a thumbs up, Gene.
Dude, I do too, man. That's
the mango puree.
Yeah.
So you can actually tell that it's not just mango flavor.
Yes, I think that's where the cloudiness and the deep orange comes from.
Because you can. It's almost like you can chew it.
Yeah.
Not that it's thick or anything, but it's kind of like
Yeah.
I like it.
So thanks everybody. Here we are again. We're having fun.
So you haven't said if you like it or not.
I did. I gave it a thumbs up.
Did you?
Yeah. I could drink that.
Could you give it 2 thumbs up?
If I had 2 thumbs.
Oh. Do you know that there used to be a dude on, and this is another story, and you all have seen this, maybe some of you had. It was kind of based, it was a spin-off of the Jackass stuff on MTV or wherever that was. Mm-hmm. But this dude, he was Swedish, I think, Sweden, something like that. But he let himself be blown up in a demolition building that was being torn down, and it tore off his thumb completely. And so it was so funny, he would always go, 2 thumbs up. So, yeah, anytime I hear about 2 thumbs up, I'm always like, 2 thumbs up.
Yeah.
I haven't made any progress on my catchphrase. I don't know. It's like I thought the other day, like, well, that went over like a flying penguin.
I heard one today that said, was it finer than hair in a mashed potato or something like that? I don't know.
No, we always used to say finer than a frog hair.
Yeah, no, it was another guy. He was
This is a different guy. Different guy.
This guy was at a store.
Oh, one of those.
Yeah, one of
stores.
those.
Mine and Topaz's favorite stores.
Yeah,
you get paid by, not by the item, but how much you can carry out.
Yeah, I was like, hey, how's it going? He said, I'm doing fine. Fine like a herring and biscuit and gravy, or I don't know. It was so stupid.
Hey, speaking of biscuits and gravy.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Gene done led into this one. That's the flavor that I think Gene should make next year in one of his beer competitions, is biscuits and gravy.
So
I'm serious. I really do think that would work.
So here it brings up a awesome.
We're talking beer. I love it.
The discussion. So we're going to have the beer review. What you guys want us to review on one of these episodes? I have a competition coming up in May. I want to know what you guys want to see brewed.
Biscuits and gravy.
So, I can do a little. I may do a poll. But send us something. Let me know what do you want us to brew, and we'll take it. We will take it to the competition.
Biscuits and gravy. Just think about that.
Yeah,
wouldn't that be awesome? You could drink beer for breakfast. You wake up in the morning. It's like, oh, I'm tired. I want a beer. I don't know if I've ever woken up and thought, I want a beer.
All right, man. So.
Man, I don't want this to stop.
This is good. Hang on. This is good time. We are unranked and unhinged.
Very unhinged.
No apologies. Low expectations.
That's right. No expectations.
No expectations.
You all better come into this with no expectations.
So good times.
Good beer.
We'll see you guys next week.
Cheers.
Cheers, buddy.